In grade 6, we aim for fluency with decimal operations. This means you should be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers with multiple decimal places confidently and accurately. Decimals are everywhere, especially when dealing with money and measurements, so mastering these rules will make you fluent in real-world math. We'll break down the specific rules for each operation to ensure you can tackle any decimal problem that comes your way. The golden rule for adding decimals is to line up the decimal points. This ensures you are adding tenths to tenths, hundredths to hundredths, and so on. If one number has more digits after the decimal than the other, you can always add zeros as placeholders to the shorter number. After you've lined up everything, just add as you would with whole numbers. The decimal point in your final answer goes straight down, exactly below the others. Let's see this in example 1. 12.3 plus 4.56. We line up the decimals and we add a zero placeholder to the 12.3 so it becomes 12.30. Now we add 0 plus 6 is 6, 3 plus 5 is 8, 2 plus 4 is 6, and 1 plus 0 is 1. We drop the decimal straight down. The sum is 16.86. Lining up the decimal point is the single most important step for addition. Subtracting decimals follows the same key rule as addition. Line up the decimal points vertically. However, placeholders are even more critical here. If the number you are subtracting from has fewer decimal places, you must add zeros. This is because you may need to borrow. Imagine trying to subtract 5 cents from 0 cents. You can't do it unless you borrow from the place to the left. Once lined up, subtract normally and drop the decimal point straight down. For example 2, 10.5 minus 3.25. We line up the decimals and see we need to add a 0 to the 10.5, making it 10.50. Now we can subtract. We borrow from the 5 to subtract 5 from 10, leaving 5. We subtract 2 from 4 to get 2, and so on. After the subtraction, the decimal lands right below the others. The difference is 7.25. Multiplying decimals is completely different because you ignore the decimals first. Just multiply the numbers as if they were whole numbers. Once you have your product, you count the total number of digits behind the decimal point in both original factors. That total number is how many places you move the decimal point from the right of your final answer. The rule is simple. Count, multiply, and then count again. Let's multiply 4.2 times 1.5 in example 3. We multiply 42 times 15, which gives us 630. Now, we count the decimal places. 4.2 has one decimal place, and 1.5 has one decimal place. 1 plus 1 equals 2 total decimal places. We start at the end of 630 and move the decimal 2 places to the left. The answer is 6.30, which we can write as 6.3. Sometimes, when multiplying, your product won't have enough digits to move the decimal point the correct number of places, as in example 4. 0.05 times 0.9. 5 times 9 is 45. Now count the places. 0.05 has 2 places and 0.9 has 1 place. We need 3 total places. Since 45 only has 2 digits, we must add a 0 to the left of the 4 to make the total of 3 places. The product is 0.045. The trickiest operation is dividing decimals. The standard long division algorithm only works when the number you are dividing by, the divisor, is a whole number. If you try to divide by a decimal like 0.2, the process gets confusing. So our main objective is always to eliminate the decimal in the divisor before we start dividing. To eliminate the decimal in the divisor, we use the shift and match technique. Step 1. Move the decimal point in the divisor all the way to the right to make it a whole number. Step 2. You must perform the exact same move in the dividend. If you have to add zeros to the dividend to match the moves, do it. Once the divisor is a whole number, you perform the division normally. The decimal point in the quotient goes straight up from its new position in the dividend. Example 5 is a simple case. 4.8 divided by 4. Since 4 is already a whole number, we don't need to move the decimals. We just place the decimal point in the answer straight up. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. The quotient is 1.2. This is the easiest type of decimal division. Now for example 6, 1.2 divided by 0.3. The divisor, 0.3, has a decimal. We move the decimal one place to the right in the divisor, making it 3. We move the decimal one place to the right in the dividend, making it 12. The problem becomes the simple whole number division, 12 divided by 3. The answer is 4. We essentially multiplied both numbers by 10 to solve the problem. Sometimes you need to add zeros to the dividend to match the shifts, as in example 7, 15 divided by 0.05. We move the decimal in 0.05 two places to the right to get 5. The dividend, 15, has an implied decimal point after the 5, so we must add 2 zeros. 15 equals 15.0. The problem is now 1500 divided by 5. The answer is 300. Decimals are most visible in our lives when we deal with money. Every time you calculate a price, add 2 bills, or figure out how much change you have left, you are performing decimal addition and subtraction. Remember, dollars are the whole number, and cents are the hundredths place. Always keep those 2 decimal places to ensure your calculations are accurate. Here's a shopping problem for word problem 1. If you buy a shirt for $19.99 and a hat for $8.50, you need to add them. We set up $19.99 plus $8.50, lining up the decimals. The sum is $28.49. Simple decimal addition tells you the total cost. Building on that, in word problem 2, you pay a cashier $50 for the $28.49 total. To find the change, you subtract $50 minus $28.49. We set up the subtraction vertically and need to borrow across the zeros. The result is $21.51. This is a great example of why fluent decimal subtraction is essential for everyday life. Decimal multiplication is frequently used for calculating measurements and total costs when purchasing bulk items. For instance, if you're filling up a gas tank, the final bill is calculated by taking the price per gallon, a decimal, and multiplying it by the number of gallons, another decimal. This single operation gives you the total cost. Let's calculate a total cost for word problem 3. Gas costs $3.25 per gallon, and you buy 12.5 gallons. We multiply 3.25 times 12.5. We multiply the whole numbers and then count the decimal places. 3.25 has 2 and 12.5 has 1, for a total of 3 places. The final answer is $40.63, rounded to the nearest penny. Decimal division is the key to finding the unit price, or the cost for one single item, pound or ounce. Stores use this calculation to determine the price of bulk items. If you want to know which product is the better deal, you need to divide the total cost, a decimal, by the amount of product, often another decimal, to find the cost per one. Our final example, word problem 4, finds the unit price. A 4.5-pound bag of apples costs $6.75. We divide $6.75 divided by 4.5. We shift the decimal one place in both numbers, making the problem 67.5 divided by 45. When you perform the long division, the quotient is $1.50. The unit price is $1.50 per pound. Mastering these 4 decimal operations gives you real math power.